Prep Beat. It's Thomas Lawrence. I'm TJ Holmes. We're previewing Game of the Week, Foothill at Enterprise this week. You know, these are two teams with really explosive offenses that can really put up points. You know, a lot of, not bad blood, but a really big rivalry for both teams. You know, looking at both these offenses that can score points really quickly, what kind of stands out to you?
You know, when I look at Foothill's side, at least, they have every part of their offense is really dangerous. You know, they got Ryan Pollard in there as a junior, a guy who's played beyond, I think, most people's expectations, maybe even his coach's expectations this year. He's got 15 touchdowns and only 1 interception so far, none at home to this point. He's got great receivers in Cooper Janisevsky's out, and you know his height really comes into play on the sideline. 6'4", he's got great hands. Yeah, Davis Kepon over the middle is a really talented track athlete, and it shows, especially when he gets some open field. And their tailbacks, you know, they got Jake Shaddix, who's a transfer in from an Idaho high school, and he's a good bruiser up the middle for them with a little bit of speed. And Blake Burnett, you know, he can catch, he can run. He's a good kind of a hybrid player and a threat for them.
Yeah, and then look on the other side at Enterprise. You know, you have Zach Trublett at quarterback. He's really developed into one of the best quarterbacks, you know, in our area. You know, with Garrett Sandow and Ryan Pollard, you know, in there as well. And then you got Brad Woods, running back Brad Woods, back and healthy. Had over 100 yards last week against Paradise. Showed that he's healthy, he can carry the rock again. And I think that Enterprise is going to have to feed him the ball 20-plus carries in this one to kind of control the tempo so this doesn't really turn into a shootout that a lot of people think it might be.
Yeah, and, you know, it could be a long night for both defenses. You know, talent on both teams' defenses, but there's so many weapons that it's tough to kind of pick a player that they're going to look, they want to bracket in or something like that. You know, and one good thing for Enterprise, not really involving the X's and O's, at least, you know, at first glance, is Coach Darren Trueblood, who was suspended after being ejected against Paradise last Friday. That suspension was lifted today, which is Thursday, by the Northern Section. So they didn't think all week they would have him there, but they will tomorrow night.
Yeah, and then looking at another EAL matchup in this week, Shasta hosts PV. You know, PV's, or Bailey Odell stepped in, you know, for Casey Toombs last week in his first varsity start, you know, at quarterback, threw 4 touchdowns. You know, Jake Calloway came in for Avery Hall at running back, who went down. You know, Calloway scored 2 touchdowns, including the game winner, had over 100 yards. So their offense didn't skip a beat at all in that win against Lass. And, you know, where I think I kind of have a concern with Shasta is their defense, but luckily they're playing PV, who has struggled this year.
Yeah. And, you know, for Shasta, it's really been, for them and defensive coordinator Kirk Ramage, it's been a lot of work the last couple of years. They've had to move so many different players in and out of different positions, and it's not so much a lack of talent on defense for them, it's been a lot of injuries. You know, they lost their 2 starting linebackers, their starting middle linebackers before the year started, which, as you know, are really pivotal in that 4-4 defense they run. Now Toombs, who's a big-time safety for them, and Hawley, who's an outside linebacker, are gone too. And so, you know, when they're giving up 44 points to a team like Lassen, like they did last week, and that's a sign of trouble for a team that's, you know, not necessarily a perennial #1 seed, but you know, a consistent contender in the Eastern Athletic League, to say the least.
Yeah, and then, you know, PV's offense has just been anemic this year, and with Shasta's injuries, they can be vulnerable, you know, to that run up the middle or anything as Lassen, you know, exploited them on last week. You know, PV really hasn't done anything against quality opponents. I mean, just some weak Division I teams, and that's basically it. You know, so Shasta really has a chance to turn the corner with their defense in this one.
Yeah. And it's a big week in the Northern Athletic League. West Valley, 5-1, heads to Wairika, who, you know, as you mentioned, is unbeaten but really untested to this point. You know, probably their toughest was on the road at Anderson last week, where they just won by a point. West Valley, you know, had that #1 seed locked up in D2, but had a tough rivalry loss at home to CB, a couple of key injuries. So they head up to Wairika. Tough place to play, a long trip for them, you know, over a 2-hour bus ride, and they're going to be without one of their big leaders in junior Austin Clark.
Yeah, and then, you know, another NAL matchup that I kind of want to look at is CV against Corning, going on the road to Corning. You know, CV's coming off that big emotional win against West Valley. They kind of have the inside track for the NAL. You know, they took care of West Valley, who was thought to be the NAL front runner in this one. Now CV has a chance to prove that last week wasn't a fluke, and they can take it to Corning this week and start 2-0.
And for Reading Christian football, down in 8-man, only the second year of the program, but they're unbeaten to this point. They locked up their first #1 ranking in the Prep Football Media Poll this week, and they have a heck of a test to hold on to it this week. They're at home on Friday night at 7 against Butte Valley, who was ranked #1 most of the year before losing to Dunsmuir last week, but is a defending champion. And so a great test for the Lions as they really try and build their program and make them a championship contender year after year.
And check out prepbeat.com for scores, video highlights, and blogs, you know, for everything regarding high school sports.